Good morning, my future Canucks. I'm Ronan. I'm the CELPIP teacher. And in this video, I'm going to teach you 3 simple ways to improve your CELPIP writing score. Sit back, relax, grab yourself a coffee, a moose head, maybe some poutine, and let's learn how to boost your CELPIP writing score. Before you watch the video, you might want to download the worksheet. The link is in the description. Check it out, bud. Here we go.
Okay, everyone. Today we are going to talk about CELPIP writing tips. And this is the first tutorial of many for CELPIP writing tips, or advanced CELPIP writing tips. And today we're going to focus on 3 target words for CELPIP writing. Now, generally speaking, there's a lot more than 3 target words that you should be using. And when you look at the screen here, you can see many of them because, after, while, rather than, all of those are incredibly important. But today, we're going to focus on just these 3 here. And we are going to focus on using those to introduce ideas. And remember, these are advanced ideas. So, just to start off, let's take a look at 2 different CELPIP writing task 2 questions. Here's the very first question, and it's all about barbecues on balconies. Your apartment manager is asking for your opinion about using barbecues on balconies. You have to decide, or you have to choose, if you are for or against it. Now, for this question, we are going to say no. No, barbecues should not be allowed. This is the easier option to write about. Here are some general ideas. We're only practicing today, so we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at getting ideas. Here is the other question. It is a work from home survey, and your company is either going to allow you to work from home permanently or to have a hybrid schedule. Which would you choose? And today we are only going to look at work from home permanently. Why? It's more convenient, happier workers, financially better for everyone. So these are the 2 questions that we're going to use to learn how to use 3 target words for CELPIP writing. Okay, question 1, barbecues on balconies. And I have given you a very basic idea that you can see on the screen now. This idea is good. Having a barbecue is fun, but it can annoy others. That's absolutely fine. But I bet we can make it a little more advanced by using these 3 words here. Although barbecuing is fun, it can be annoying for others. That is the same as my basic idea. But because I've used the word although, I'm probably going to get a higher score. Even though having a barbecue is fun, it's dangerous. Okay. And having a barbecue is fun, however, it is dangerous. So all of those are more advanced ways to introduce an idea. Yes, I say dangerous, I could say annoying, I could say frustrating. But you get the idea, or you get the point, that by using although, even though, or however, you can introduce your idea in a more advanced way. And I have used it here to introduce the idea and then support. With more support. And whenever I am supporting, I think of examples and I think of reasons and I put those on paper. Or in my answer, not on paper anymore. Here's an example using however. Having a barbecue is fun, however, it can be frustrating. And here's one with even though. And as you can see, with all of these here, with even though, with however, and with although, the rest of the information is the same. Because these 3 words are always used to introduce contrast. Introduce the opposite idea. So although plus idea, the next thing must be the opposite idea. When I use however, First, I introduce one idea, then I write however, then I have the contrasting idea. Here is the work from home survey question. Okay, here is a basic idea. Working in the office can be productive, but working from home is more convenient. Again, that is a good sentence. But let's try and do that again using although, however, or even though. Can you finish any of those sentences now? Although working in the office can be productive, how can you finish that? Or, working in the office can be productive, however. I need something that either explains why working in the office is not good or why a work from home policy is better. A contrasting idea. And here are my contrasting ideas, and they're very, very simple. They're very, very basic. Working from home is more convenient. And so I'm using although, however, even though to introduce the idea. But I know what comes next is going to support the idea that working from home is more convenient. Take a look at this. A worker can start work earlier if they do not have to drive into the office, for example. Working in the office can be productive. However, working from home is more convenient. A worker can start working earlier if they work from home because they avoid traffic, for example. And here's even though. When a person works from home, they can save time, for example. So with this transition word of even though, of although, of however, I have said this before, I am using it to introduce an idea. Look at the screen. For example, they do not have to drive into work and deal with traffic or parking. This means blah, blah, blah. This is also good because this has a lot of support for the information at the top. Even though having a barbecue is fun, it can be frustrating for others. And everything here, everything is supporting the idea it can be frustrating for others. You need to think of ideas that support that. Let's take a quick look at the form. The form is how you use it. And it's always going to be although plus subject plus verb. Although, working in the office, that's my subject. Can be, there's my verb. Even though, working in the office, subject, can be, is my verb. But maybe it is a little confusing. So take a look at these examples here. Although I drank coffee, I fell asleep. Keep it simple when you're practicing. Even though plus subject plus verb. Subject is I, and the verb is drank. So take some time to study how to use even though, how to use however, how to use although. But the best way to learn how to use it is practice. Can you finish these sentences here? Even though Canada is a great place to live, blah, blah, blah. So, Canada is a great place to live. We have free healthcare. We have a great, beautiful nature in Canada. We have great social programs. The people are friendly. But can you think of something negative about living in Canada? Although Canada is a great place to live, it's expensive. Food is expensive. Rent is expensive. Everything is expensive. Canada is a great place to live. However, winter can be difficult. Again, I'm keeping it simple. I'm just trying to make easy examples. And that's why I included the last three. Although I drank 100 cups of coffee, I did not fall asleep. I was tired. I slept very well. Although I drank 100 cups of coffee, I fell asleep. Even though I drank 100 cups of coffee, I fell asleep. I drank 100 cups of coffee, however, I fell asleep. I'm keeping it simple. Because if I can make a simple sentence with just a little bit of work, I can absolutely make a more complex sentence. So start small. Next, make it personal. Here are some examples from my life. My name is Ronan, and yesterday I ate an entire pizza. I was still hungry. So, although I ate an entire pizza, I was still hungry. Although. Even though it's 30 degrees out, I want to go for a hike. That's true. Last week in Kelowna, it was 30 degrees Celsius. It was beautiful. A lot of people I know wanted to drink beer on the patio, go to the beach or something. But me, I wanted to go for a hike. And I did, and I loved it. I want to lose weight. Can you relate to this one? I want to lose weight. However, I also want to eat ice cream. It's an eternal battle. I want to be healthy, but I want to eat ice cream. So I can say, however, because it is contrasting. I want to lose weight. However, I also want to eat ice cream. And of course, the last way is with some real CELPIP questions. So here you read the question and then you choose A or B. Your company is going to redesign the office space. Do you want an open plan office? Or do you want a traditional office? Can you make a sentence using although, even though, or however with that? And here is another question. A local charity is organizing a fundraising event. Option A, host a formal gala dinner with a silent auction. Or option B, a community fun run. Do you know what a silent auction is? If you don't, you probably should not choose that option. Always choose the easier option to write about. Personally speaking, I think option A might be more successful, but if option B is easier to write about, I will write about that. But using those three words we looked at, although, even though, and however, can you make answers or make sentences for these questions? There you go, folks. 3 target words for CELPIP writing. Use those to get a high score.
And that, my friends, is it. It's so easy to increase your score. However, even though, although. 3 simple words that you can use to get a much, much higher score in CELPIP writing. Check out my website, thecelpipteacher.com. Got a worksheet there for you. Download it, bud. The link is in the description. All right, time for me to hit the road. Have a fantastic day. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. Bye for now, bud.